This is TV Ontario's La Chaîne Française.
I'm not a big fan of the marketing of science fiction. Mahatma Gandhi was once asked what he thought of Western civilization. He thought for a moment and replied, "That would be very nice." The marketing of science fiction, that would be a great idea. I wish someone would undertake such a thing.
I'm Commander Rick, and today I'm going to show you how science fiction and comic books can help you to achieve financial independence. Imagine large amounts of money for no work. As well, I can pour acid on this book, and because it's science fiction, it wipes right off. Then I'll talk with Stella Stevens about how comic books maintain her youthful complexion. You'll also receive this Ninja Ginsu knife. Make decorative radishes or defend yourself. Here's how to order yours, absolutely free. Our operator, Nancy, is standing by. Nancy?
Rising anti-Semitism in Eastern Europe has voted English-only sign. 40,000 tons of armed with PCBs blew up the ozone layer today.
Standing by for solid rocket booster separation.
Greetings, consumers. You know, I've been stuck up here for 2 years now trying to save the world using comics, science fiction, and fantasy because they deal with the important issues and difficult ideas. 2 years I've been talking, and yet these forms are still considered the cotton candy of literature. I need to change my style.
When I write a science fiction novel, I am specifically aiming it at people who don't read that crap. I don't know if you can say that on television. People who don't read that junk. I'm aiming it at normal human beings because I finally got it through my head that if every science fiction fan in North America buys my book and no one else does, I will starve. So the ideal audience I try to keep in mind as I'm writing is Jeannie's mother.
She reads a lot, but...
And she's not a science fiction fan.
Not exclusively science fiction.
So if I can make it comprehensible to her, it's available to anybody, and any other way lies bankruptcy.
Yeah, maybe my problem is marketing. Okay, shoppers, let's go shopping. This is it. Look what I have for you, one of the first science fiction stories to reach the mass market. It's Frank Herbert's Dune. Look at this. Isn't this lovely? Story of the year in Astounding Magazine, but Frank couldn't find a publisher to put it in book form. Let's go to the phones and talk to Jack Vance. He's a satisfied customer and a friend of Frank Herbert.
Frank went out and tried to peddle the thing for hardcover, but he couldn't do it. Worked very hard at it. Nobody'd publish it. Nobody'd publish it. Finally, he got a publisher that mainly did welding, books on welding and how to fix Volkswagens, named it Chilton. Did automobile manuals, take a chance on it. And the rest is history, of course. Chilton produced Frank's Dune, and the thing was a runaway success. And why? No one knows, except that I've heard it said that there was some aspects of Dune that appealed to the hippies, and so it became a tremendous bestseller. Frank was pressed to do more Dunes, and he really didn't have the material for them. He ground stuff out, made thousands and thousands of dollars on them. You know, on and on, Dune, son of Dune, and the grandchild of Dune, and the dogs of Dune, and Lorna Dune, and
Bride of Dune, Brigadoon. Talk to you later, Jack. Of course, every science fiction and fantasy writer has a horror story or two about how their works have been abused, confused, and misused.
When I first moved to Nova Scotia and had my first books coming out, a local bookstore in Greenwood, Nova Scotia called up and said, "We heard you're a local author, you just moved here, we'd like to have an autograph party. Are you willing?" I said, "Sure." They called up the local distributor, and they said, we've got this author coming in, we'd like to have an autograph party, could we please have 50 copies of his books? And the distributor, whose job it is to market me, on whom I depend for my livelihood, said, 50 copies? What are you, some kind of a punk? No, we've got 400 or 500 here in the warehouse. Why don't you take them all? It won't cost you a thing. It'll look great. You can build a cathedral out of books in the front of your store, you know, and photograph the man standing in front of them for publicity photos you can have on your wall for years to come. The guy said, it won't cost me anything? Okay. And he took all 500. I show up for the autograph party. We sign the 10 or 20 books we expected to sell that night. He keeps the other 20 or 25 that he figures he can move over the next few weeks. And the remaining 450 books, he tears the cover off and throws the book in the dumper out and back. And he mails the cover back into the publisher for credit. A week later, another bookstore called up that same distributor and said, we heard about that autograph party. We'd like to do one too. And the book distributor said, I'm sorry, I don't have any copies left. I said, but what we really liked her. The guy's a local author. Could you reorder? They said, reorder? We had 450 returns out of 500 on this lemon. This is a stiff. This turkey's not going anywhere. No, we wouldn't take a chance on it. Decisions like that get made every day.
If loving Mobius is a sin, then I am guilty.
It's a pleasure to tell a story, to build a story. I follow that pleasure.
He brings a level of craft that is utterly astonishing to the work.
We must do the science fiction ourselves, and being men and women of the future.
I would write him a resume. I'd write a recommendation for him.
Changing our point of view, we change the world.
10% of all fiction sold in North America today is fantasy literature. Sturgeon's law that 90% of everything is crap is as valid, although not more valid, in this field as in any other. There's a tendency when a field becomes hot, when it achieves commercial potential, for that field to attract writers who are only working in it because of that commercial potential. You don't see hack writers writing sonnets. They're not making a living writing sonnets. They can make a living writing fantasy on a push-it-out-by-the-shovelful basis.
The marketplace currently is so crowded. There's on the order of 2,000 books a year coming out and trying to fill shelf space adequate for 200.
When lots and lots of writers get involved, and the people that pick them up at the airport, and where the average life of a soft cover is 3 or 4 days, it doesn't seem that quality has much meaning anymore.
A really good book can stay on reorder at the better stores for up to 2 years, but there seems to be a significant die-off even of the very best. You have to play tricks and capers to keep a book alive for more than 2 years, unless it's just extraordinary.
Someone whose books have a long shelf life is fantasy writer Terry Brooks. See? Best before 1996. Terry, it's Commander Rick. How do you explain your tremendous sales?
Good taste in readership, I would say, mostly. No, I don't know. Who knows? It's just one of those things. It was very fortunate to find an audience at that time. The publishing job was tremendous. They did a real good packaging job on it. They had it illustrated well. It got a lot of good pre-publicity. And the sales force that goes out and gets the bookstores to put it somewhere besides in the very back of the store, got them to put it in the front of the store where people walking in would notice it.
Thanks, Terry.